And a good afternoon to everybody. Hopefully, everyone's doing good tonight. Let's see who we've got in the house. All right. John, it's so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming out. Sure do appreciate it. Philip, thanks so much for coming out. It's good to see you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's good to see everybody. To everyone that watches back later on or are at home watching but can't type, we appreciate it. And it's good to see every one of y'all. Appreciate the comments that you leave and sharing us out and giving us that old thumbs up. Surely do appreciate that. All right. Looks like we're still at 1,937 subscribers. Welcome in, Robin. So good to see you. And my brother, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. I tell you, today I'm tired. Yesterday I got up at 7 o'clock or so. Had to get Hope's breakfast made and get her ready for school and all that stuff. And after that, nice morning, nice cool morning. So I went over to Dad's and we did some cleaning up that old junky scrap pile that y'all kind of saw in some video live streams that we did over there in the past. A lot of that stuff's gone. He had somebody help haul what he could off, and then we just been burning, piling up cut the briars down and burn those and pull those roots up, and wood that's just been sitting around rotting into pieces, piling it up and burning it. I'll have a short up tomorrow. Yesterday, I don't know, maybe 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, something like that before it got dark. Went over there and had been working all day long and had the pile, built up, and just set it on fire and continued just to burn it until darkness came. And then out in the front yard, about, a month ago or so, we took some cinder blocks and made like a little fire pit for doing a little weenie roast. And while the pile was burning, we lit that thing on fire and cooked hot dogs. So I don't know if I got a video or that or a picture. Well, I know I got a picture because that's what I used for the cover of. Hopefully I'm not breaking up. I might need to move closer. Who knows? Whoops. But anywho, we got a lot of cleanup done and just had a good time doing it. Hope was over there cooking her a hot dog on the fire. Just had a good old time. And today, after she got through with all her schoolwork and stuff, we went back to the family cemetery. And if y'all watched that video, that place was so overgrown. Like, I'm talking weeds taller than my head and cedar trees big around as just great big trees blown over. And we were working on kind of cleaning that stuff up a little bit. We got a lot of the weeds and stuff knocked down. And let me see here. I think this TV is messing. There we go. Anyway, we got a lot of that stuff knocked down. And well, we really hadn't been, to be honest, we hadn't really been doing a whole lot. We just, when I get a free chance, just go over there with just those little like chopper things and a handsaw and just do what we can, a little at a time. and it's starting to look pretty doggone good. I'll have to go over there and do like a update video, I guess, where you guys can see what's changed. When you first went in, let's see. Yeah, you're right. That's a dulcimer. It is. I've got to get a string for it. I broke one of them. It needs tuned, but that is a dulcimer. I found that thing for like $30. It's a steal. But when you watch that video, when you first go in the gate and you look to the left, there's a grave, and then behind it's another one. There's a bunch of trees right there around it. Today I cut. There's still some high weeds I need to get cut down, but I actually cut that tree down and threw it over the fence. And then on the other side, there was a tree had fell across the grave and turned the headstone sideways. Well, today I cut some of the big branches that was kind of around it, keeping us from fixing the headstone, and cut them back and then fix that stone back the way it's supposed to be. So welcome back, Daryl. So good to see you. Appreciate it. And then, of course, we cleaned up, cut some of the little privet hedge and stuff down, and it really opened it up. Seems like every time we go over just a little bit that we do makes such a difference. What I really need to do is get a rake and a push mower over there. That would do some wonders over there. There's no way you're going to get a riding lawnmower over there because the ruts and stuff in that road is ungodly how terrible it is. But a push mower could push it or pull it or whatever. But whenever the next time we go, I'm trying to be able to bring a chainsaw and cut the big trees that's fell back out of that. They're one, it's leaned like this, and it's kind of over the fence. But the one, it like fell through the fence, and we've been kind of cutting it back, and it's getting. We're just doing as much as we can until we got to have a saw. But the cemetery is actually a part of a man's farm, so there's not a lot that like goats. There's no way that's going to happen. He would not let that happen. But we just been going in a little at the time. Doing some cleanup just here and there, maybe an hour or two, not long, just just a little here and there, just what we can. And a good day with a chainsaw would do wonders over there, just cutting the rest of that one tree down and raking up all the remnants of broken limbs, and then a push mower to cut the tall grass and stuff. That place would look so different. But anyway, I've been busy the last 2 days, and I'm really tired. And it ain't been much of an off day because I've been working, but still, we enjoy it, and that's why we do it, I guess. But today, our story, the first one that we're going to do, is a submitted story. Our awesome sister that we see in here all the time, Niecy Blair, actually sent a story from her childhood. So, gonna read that, and then I've got one more, and it's titled "My Great Grandmother's Horror Story." We'll have that to read. So, I guess we'll get into the stories here, and let's see, videos coming up. I'm working on one right now, kind of talking about this lye soap. This lye soap really inspired me, so I have a story with that coming up, and let's see, and then coming out October the 4th, which is this Saturday, we will have the story on that. It's about a restaurant, but it's more than the restaurant. Inside that restaurant is a relic from the year 1844. And we will, you'll learn about that. And it's so cool, such a neat place. So that'll be Saturday. And then the following week will be, we're out visiting a little cemetery. And right, it's in the middle of rolling fields. Oh my gosh, you guys are going to love it. Welcome in, Betty. So good to see you. Thanks so much. And then once I get the last soap story going, I actually have our awesome sister Jana Petty. She loves to do like going to cemeteries and doing research on some of the people that is in there, and that she can find stories through like ancestry.com or whatever. And she has submitted one from, I want to say it's Arkansas, the Ozark Mountains. So we're going to get to learn about a man that lived in the 1800s in the Ozark Mountains. So we have that to look forward to. Super excited to get to put that story together. And from there, who knows? Just all kinds of good stuff coming. Really excited and really appreciate all the submitted stories, and really appreciate Robin considering sending one when she gets better. A fractured shoulder absolutely stinks and takes forever to heal. But we sure appreciate any of the stories or just anything. And hopefully, maybe next week when I'm off, we're going to look further into the P.O. Box. And I've been contacted by our awesome sister Karen. We're going to get together on that, figure that out. But I have to go find out price-wise and everything. And she wanted to donate it, but I'd have to tell her, how much and everything. Which we'll get that going. And just all kind of good stuff coming up. So I guess I'm going to get me off of this old screen and dig into some stories. So this first one is from our awesome sister Niecy, and it's called Mr. Ghost. It says, "This is my honest to goodness true story of my Mr. Ghost. This happened before you guys were even born. But I need to tell you this first. The person I was married to at this time was one of the people that had to move just every few months. So we looked at this house. We saw it was empty. This is where Mr. Ghost comes into the story. We called the people that owned the home. She told us she would talk to her husband. We thought it would take just a day or two, but it actually took a whole week for them to call us back. When I heard from her, she said it took them that amount of time to decide what price they would charge. She said, also, by law, we have to tell you this home, it is haunted. My reply was, okay, now what? It says, now I've told you all that. I wanted to give you the very beginning of where we first heard of Mr. Ghost. The house was really pretty, had a beautiful bay window in the living room. The home, it was super old. The type of doors it had to come in the house were the old doors that was glass. It ran from almost the top of the door to nearly the bottom. The back porch was made into a room. It had more modern door on the back porch. Let's see, on the outside door going in. Then, to get inside the house, it still had an old door. It was the type of old house. All it had in the bathroom was just an old-fashioned sink, a toilet, and an old clawfoot tub. The house was gorgeous. Back then, I wore makeup every day. Since I had no place in the bathroom to put it on, I would go to the kitchen, sit at the table, and put it on. When I would get done, if I didn't take it with me, then I would go check on my 2-year-old son. If I left my makeup bag or mirror on the table to go check on him, when I would come back, I'd put my stuff up, and it wasn't ever on the table where I left it. It would be moved to the middle of the stove. Then at night, I wore contacts back then. I would always take them out about an hour before we would go to bed. I would go to the living room to wait on the guy I was married to. I always turned on my lamp, then took out my contacts in there. I would go back to the living room and I would hear my lamp click off. It was a push button, turn off, turn on lamp, and it was really hard to push it on either way. Then I would walk to the living room, sit on the couch, and count 1, 2, 3. Then I would hear the lamp click back on by itself. This happened every single night. So I'm not as good as y'all writing, but this is as true as I can be. If there's anything you need to ask or you can't understand, and of course she gave us her number. And well, that's pretty creepy. And that's part one. Apparently she's going to send us another part of that story later. But that is absolutely creepy. Could you imagine going into a house and, leaving your bag on the kitchen table to go check on your kid, and it's moved to the stove with nobody around or no one else in the house? Or go in the bedroom and turn on the lamp, take off your contacts, leaving it on, go back into the living room, just sitting on the couch, waiting for bedtime, and all of a sudden the lamp clicks off. And when you have it checked out, there's nothing wrong with the lamp. It's insane. I would not know what to do about that. That's for sure. Creepy, creepy, creepy. All right. I really appreciate Nisi for sending that story in, and really enjoyed it. Pretty doggone scary experience, it sounds like to me. All right, now let's get into the second story. This one's titled My Great Grandmother's Horror Story. An elderly woman recounts to her grandson a story from the Wild West, a time of cowboys, bandits, and the specter stuck between worlds, traveling the plains for its victims. The location, the Wild West. The date and time is a long time ago in the 1800s. The atmosphere was gritty, lawless, and malevolent. When a lot of us think of the 1800s, we tend to think of cheesy rhinestone cowboy TV shows. We don't think of how terrifying it truly was to be alive at that time. A story my great grandmother told me has forced me to rethink my fanciful visions of the past. I was born in 1959 and did not meet my great grandmother until I was around 7. So it must have been back in 1966, I believe. She, who at the time was around 98 years old, was a very sweet and kind little old lady. She dressed how I had seen people dress on the TV show Bonanza. So for a young child who was obsessed with stories of the Wild West that I had seen on TV, I was so excited to flood her with all my questions. At first, she told me these wondrous stories of covered wagons and cowboy shootouts, buildings, everything that you own, and building everything you own, and just a general stories of living in a most lawless land. It was the middle of summer, and my mother had told me to take my dog out to the backyard so he could use the facilities. Then we would get settled in for the night. Within a few seconds of my mother saying this, my great grandmother jumped to her feet from her chair and screamed, "No, do not let him go out there." My grandmother walked over, put a hand on her shoulder and whispered something in her ear to settle her down. It was a very kind of alarming to me because I really didn't know this woman too well. But being a silly kid, I wrote it off and took Rowdy out to the backyard. When I got back in and locked up, the mood had completely changed. Even though I was going to be allowed to stay up later than normal, my mom told me to take Rowdy and go to bed. I questioned my mom and asked what is going on, as I could see my great grandmother was very disturbed in the other room. My mother said, "Jacob, go to bed." I was not familiar with her carrying that tone toward me, so I just obeyed. I laid down after putting my pajamas on and just looked at the ceiling, not really able to sleep. I went downstairs to get some milk and maybe sneak some of the sweets my family had made earlier in that day. But when I saw my great grandmother sitting by the window, lost in thought, I asked her, "Grandma Caroline, is everything okay?" She turned to me, looked at me, and said, "Do you want to really know why I didn't want you to go outside?" I said, "Oh, yes, please," believing I was about to hear another Wild West story. I grabbed my sweet cautiously, not knowing what she would say, and sat down for a story. She continued, voice rasped by the passage of time. "The reason I did not want you to go outside was because I didn't want him to get you. I've seen it twice since I've been here, and I won't let it happen again." "Well, what are you talking about, Grandma Carolyn?" I said, trying to wrap up my childlike wonder around her vague mumblings. "The black haint in the woods," she She replied, What is a black haint? It can mean a lot of things, but its core meaning is something evil. When I was 17, way back in 1885, I saw it for the first time. What follows is a story from her childhood as she told it to me. My daddy was a Civil War veteran, took me and my sisters and my mama out for a bit of a trip to meet some men he had served in with the war. Along the way, we had to set up camp a couple of times, but we didn't mind because we were too caught up in the excitement of the whole thing. It was in the middle of summer, so we would let Ma and Dad have the tent. Me and my sister slept under a blanket and looked at the stars and just dreamed. On the second night, when we were settling in for camp, a family of travelers on their way through the area stopped by and asked if they could share the area for their camp. My dad was a superb judge of character. He didn't sense anything strange, so he agreed, so long as everyone minded their own. They made their camp quickly and fell asleep almost as fast. I had woke up late in the night to see the youngest boy of the group walking toward the woods. At first, I couldn't tell what he was walking towards, but I knew he didn't need to be up and about. I quickly lit a lantern and ran after him to see what he was going on. Almost afraid I was going to catch him peeing out by the trees or something. That's when I saw it. A tall, dark man with a long trench coat and a big hat, like the men that we would see coming through the town from time to time, looking to pick a fight or start some trouble. At first, I thought it was a real man and told him to mind his own. When he looked when he looked through, I knew it was something evil. His eyes were bright white, and when he smiled, his mouth protruded a bright, ethereal steam that shouldn't have been possible in the middle of summer. Before I could even react, he had grabbed the boy and was just gone. Suddenly, I fainted and came to the next morning during a search to find the boy. He was gone and nobody ever found him. I told my dad about everything that had happened. He told me to forget about it and that they were going home right away. I couldn't make sense of anything that happened. After we got home late the next night, my dad directed us straight to bed. I tried to lie there and sleep, but I couldn't get it off my mind. Welcome in, Flying Squirrel. So good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. All right. Then I heard something rustling in the woods. I looked out of my window and I saw it again. The SOB with those white eyes looking directly at me. I rubbed my eyes several times to make sure I was awake. He was still there. I ran to my mom and dad's room to get my dad, and he was gone. But then I noticed the front door was open. I walked to the open door and saw my dad sitting on the porch with a mouthful of tobacco and a shotgun in his hand, facing the side of the house. He didn't even turn his head to speak to me. He said he knew what I'd been seeing. that he'd started seeing it after coming home from the war, that it'd been around for years and I shouldn't worry about it. I told him I couldn't do that and sat there next to him. This godless thing stared at us all night before eventually turning and walking back into the woods before the sun broke. We would sit and watch it, just me and Dad, almost every night for months, when suddenly it stopped appearing. Not long after, I met your great granddaddy, got married, and then I moved away. I didn't see the man again until the night your great great granddad died. I was lying, he was lying on his deathbed at his and Mama's house. I looked out the window, and just as sure as I was standing there, so was that terrifying creature's. Haints are believed to be restless spirits that have not found peace and are trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead. They are often described as pale or blue, and some legends say they can take the form of a mist or even a light. Haints are said to haunt specific locations, such as old houses, graveyards, and even bodies of water. Legends say haints can be particularly active during the night, and people can deter them by taking certain protective measures, such as painting their horse, their porch ceilings, or door frames with that haint blue, if you've ever heard of that. Welcome in, Rachel. So good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. If you go to Louisiana, you'll see those light blue door frames or their porches blue, and that's called Haint's blue. Let's see. Or even hanging bottles on a tree, making a bottle tree. The Gula Geechee people, who are primarily of West and Central African heritage, have passed down stories and beliefs about haints for generations, intertwining their own experiences and traditions with elements of European folklore. It says, after Daddy, I didn't see the man again until the night we pulled up in your driveway when I saw him standing in the bushes by your house. I don't know what he is, Jacob, and I don't know what he wants. So make sure you stay in the house after dark and keep the dog calm inside the house, too. As her story petered out, I could feel her nerves on edge. At this point, I was far too afraid to go back to sleep, so I just held Rowdy as tight as I could and lay there. The next morning, on little to no sleep, I walked downstairs to find Grandma Caroline and everyone else laughing and joking as if nothing ever happened. When I questioned her about the conversation she and I had the night before, she said, I'm sorry, honey. I don't know what you're talking about. But then a few moments later, she looked at me with a distinct look and gave me a wink. The rest of her life, the rest of Grandma Carolyn's visits was uneventful. She left 2 days later, although she would live to be 102. That was the first and only time I would ever see her. To this day, I look into the dark to try to see if I can catch a glimpse of whatever this thing is, but I have never seen it. Maybe that's for the best. Although Grandma Caroline peacefully died at her home, my Aunt Whitney said her last words were, "I see him standing there." Wow. That's got to be one of the creepiest things I've ever heard in my life. Could you imagine getting back from war and seeing that thing out in the woods, or going on a camping trip and you see the boy walking in the woods towards something and it looks like a man, but then his eyes are just full of nothingness, just white, and steam comes out of his mouth even on a hot summer night? Ain't no way. And I've always heard of the Haint Blue. See, even her porch is painted blue. But over on the Dixie After Dark channel, he actually goes fully in depth on the color Haint Blue and what, the beliefs of it and the bottle trees. And it's a lot based around New Orleans type stories. But wow, that was super duper awesome. I'm looking forward to reading some more of these spooky stories. And I appreciate our awesome sister Nisi for sending that story in, and really enjoy it and look forward to any more that she sends and any more that you guys send. I really love them. Love to hear y'all's experience and try to learn something if I can. And I don't really mind going out in the dark, but sometimes when you're out there, you get this strange feeling. That's when it's time to go inside. When your gut tells you it's time to go, you may better listen. So I really enjoyed those two stories. Those were really awesome. They're really spine tingling, scary. But I sure appreciate each and every one of y'all coming out tonight, spending a little time with me, learning about some creepy experiences people have, and getting to talk with each other and listen about some updates like we got. And I'm hoping tomorrow. I think I need to look. I think I have. Yes, I have a little short I'm going to put up of that little bonfire that we had. Put some music with it and let y'all see some of the good old fall time bonfires that we had yesterday. It was so fun. Had an awesome, awesome time. Let's see. The ceiling is Haint Blue and the floor is painted Battleship Gray. Well, that's cool. I like that combination. Gray and blue looks good together. But like I said, appreciate it. Thank everybody for giving us a thumbs up and telling your friends about us. And appreciate the comments and everybody supporting us. We can't thank y'all enough. Like I said, when I get an update about the P.O. Box, I'll be dropping that. If you guys have any stories that you would like to share, there scrolling across the bottom is the email. Feel free to send that at any time, or you just need to talk to anybody, or maybe a prayer request or something. You can shoot it there to Myers Tells Appalachia, and we'll see what we can do. So really appreciate each and every one of y'all. You guys are awesome. And I guess until next Saturday, I'll see y'all later. Bye, everybody. Thank y'all so much for coming.